That was Big Thor H13. I'm Double A Ron. I'm sitting here with Westicles.
Hey.
You guys remember him, and we've got a new one joining our podcast. But I don't know if you're relatively new, because we have only done 2 of these, and that was like a year ago.
Yeah, it's pretty old now.
So why don't you introduce yourself?
I am Juicebox.
Juicebox, not to be confused with Lunchbox, although he does look similar. He's got a Kevin Smith.
Yeah, I can kind of see it.
On.
What the fuck is juice?
Green!
Something you drink.
Welcome back to the Fans Perspective, where we talk about any and all things comic book related for the enjoyment of your ears or the displeasure, for all I give a fuck. We're going to just jump right into it. The big topic right now is the Avengers.
Yeah,
Age
pretty
of
much
Ultron,
kicked ass.
Age of Ultron came out a couple of weeks ago, and we all saw it, and we're going to talk about it.
Damn right. That movie was epic. Brought everything I was looking for in this movie to the forefront. I think it's better than the first one.
I would agree.
Why?
I felt the action, there was more at stake. The character development was much better.
You said there was more at stake.
Yeah.
Technically, there wasn't, but I'm actually on board
It's
with you
the world
for that.
either way.
Yeah, but
though technically in the
it
first
would have been
movie,
much quicker in this one.
yeah, this movie was just destruction as opposed to the aliens will kind of take over if they get past New York.
Do you really think that the overall end game was not total elimination of the humans?
Oh, it was. So the stakes technically were not higher, but it feels higher.
Like maybe Loki might have been looking for slavery, but I guarantee the Chitauri weren't.
True. But also, you got to think, though, in the first movie, Tony Stark's line was, even if we don't save the world, you can be damn sure we're going to avenge it. So it kind of brings in the fact that even if they fail to stop the takeover at first, it's kind of implying that they will stop it later.
No, because that's not what avenging is.
Yeah, going out in
It's
a
not
blaze
stopping
of glory,
it later, it's
getting revenge.
It's revenge. It's not stopping anything. It's getting revenge for the action that happened.
Yeah.
It's not stopping anything later.
Maybe not stopping, but getting vengeance. That's a lot better, less higher staked than just pure destruction right off the bat.
You don't think the Avengers would have avenged that?
Well, being completely annihilated kind of stops vengeance.
Well, they wouldn't have been completely annihilated.
They
I'm
said
pretty
if it
sure
went
they
high
would have.
enough, it
They
would
would
have
have,
destroyed the
yeah.
entire world.
They did actually say that they would have been destroyed. Vision might have survived. Vision and Hulk, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But that's probably it. The rest were dead.
No, I don't think so. I mean,
Thor would have gone to Odin's sleep.
Well, Thor probably would have just hightailed it out of there.
Yeah.
Like,
Thor,
backed into that kind of corner, I would assume he would just put them all on the Rainbow Bridge right there.
There's a chance of that, but again, that's a chance at best. And also, he would have gone through Odin in order to see if his mortal friends could join the party.
Yeah, and Odin could be.
No,
a dick
that's
about
not
that
true,
shit.
because Thor has superseded Odin's
there you go.
orders all the time.
Oh, that's true.
So in
I
order
guess
to
he would have
save,
anyway.
in order to save the people that would have been his only shot of avenging the Earth, which is under his charge anyway, he'd have just taken him on the Rainbow Road, and you know the guy that runs the Rainbow,
Heimdall, yeah, he'd
the
let
Rainbow
him in.
Bridge Hindle, he would have just brought him anyway because he listens to Thor regardless of what Odin says anyway.
That is true. Well, yeah, I guess then really the stakes are no different.
That's why.
Maybe it just feels stronger because I feel Ultron is a much better malevolent presence than Loki is. On the whole,
That's
I think
debatable.
Loki is a better villain for the long run, but comparatively, in the movies, Loki was far less intimidating than Ultron was. He was a lot less scary. He didn't seem as much like he meant business. Most times he was on screen, he ended up getting his ass kicked.
So, real quick, since we're talking about the end of that movie and and how it all went down, for those of you who, first of all, if you haven't seen the movie at all, we really haven't spoiled a whole lot yet, but spoiler alert, we're about to. What do you think? What do you guys think? Because I thought that one of the biggest things about the movie was the appalling waste of all of that vibranium.
Whew, that was a lot of vibranium. Again though, waste, is it wasted if it can be recovered? Because vibranium's not going to get wiped out by that.
Well, we know it didn't get wiped out.
Vibranium is the strongest metal in the world. It's not going out like that.
Well, even they said that the vibranium, the shell or the spike that went through it, they said it would have been fine.
Yeah.
But that to me, like, okay, we're talking about Ultron, and if you follow the comics, Ultron is one of the most vile villains that they have, and he's also one of the smartest. So his big fucking plan was to build a big fucking railroad spike and ram it into the planet? What the fuck? He could have used that vibranium to build himself a small mechanical army that the Avengers would have been fucked fighting. Why the fuck did he do that? Why would he build a giant railroad spike?
Though, to be truthful, Scarlet Witch can dismantle vibranium.
And?
I'm just saying they would have had a shot, and so would Vision.
I don't know if
they
would have had a shot because it took all the way to the end of the movie for her to quit being such a fucking
That's true.
piddly cunt about everything.
That's true.
Wow.
Well, I just call it like I see it. Fucking,
I get it.
Oh, my parents are dead, so I hate Tony Stark. So in turn, I'm gonna help this robot because I think for whatever stupid fucking reason in my dumbass mind that he's just going to kill the Avengers. You stupid cunt! You had to know better than that, but you didn't because you're a dumb bitch. And it took a fucking pep talk from Hawkeye of all people. Like the wanton death and destruction of a bunch of people that was a similar situation to her parents dying. That wanton death and destruction turned her into a sniveling little bitch. You figure she would be enraged by that, but no. So, I mean, would she have been in a frame of mind to be able to even fight that kind of an enemy? No. They probably would have ripped her fucking head off. There wouldn't have been time for a Hawkeye pep talk if they were looking at a vibranium army.
Yeah, probably
They'd have been fucked.
Half the Avengers would have been useless.
More than half.
No, I'd say half. Thor and Iron Man and Hawkeye would have been useless, but the rest would have been... and Black Widow.
Thor wouldn't have been useless.
No, he could have knocked a few down, sure, but if they're made of vibranium, what good can he really do?
He's got lightning, I guess. Fuck if I know. But they don't have God Blast. So...
True. Which might... has that ever been put to vibranium? I'm not actually sure.
No, but I'll assume since it can kill gods, it can take out some vibranium.
Might be.
I would assume. I don't know. We'll call up Stan later and ask him.
Yeah, see what he has to say. Well, he'll be on Mallrats 2 next year, so...
Can we ask him what he thinks about the Thing not wearing pants?
I don't know. What? You sound a lot like Brody right now.
Well, it's very clear in the new trailer for Fantastic Four,
Yeah.
the Thing is not wearing pants.
Yeah, well, it's a giant orange structure.
We just want
Just a rock structure.
To put it Brody style, are we going to be seeing his plateau and boulders?
I don't know. Is that what you guys want?
No, not particularly. I'm fond of just, let's leave it at spandex and just, or even further it, maybe some really thick sweatpants.
I don't know. I'm not going to go into the intricate ins and outs of his ins and outs. But go back to the Avengers. I mean, I don't know. I just think that Ultron would have had a better use for all of that vibranium.
There are better plots that could have been come up with. Although he was kind of on a time frame, he wasn't able to keep himself a secret. And that meant there was only a small amount of time until then. Could he have churned out a factory full, or just an army of droids? Sure, he still managed to do that. But in a vibranium forging process, it takes much longer. He was better off making a crude shape that would lift that out of the ground. It's a short-term doomsday plan, but it would have worked, of course, had the Avengers not intervened and have your Scooby-Doo moment, yada yada.
Well, he wanted the Avengers to intervene, though.
It's true, he wanted to put them down.
Which, by the way, how do you feel about that? Like, how do you feel about Tony Stark's hubris being added into Ultron's personality?
I'm actually for it. It makes sense. Like father, like son in this aspect. Mm-hmm. Kind of like how Ultron in the comics has a superiority complex that comes direct from Mr. Pym himself.
Well, right. But that came from Mr. Pym. But, like, do we really think Tony Stark would... Is he arrogant enough to input his own personality?
It's not so much that he input his personality, but he is arrogant enough to do so. He learned from his father at creation. And, I'll be honest, him and Hank Pym share quite a few personality issues.
Well, yeah, I mean, Tony Stark doesn't beat Pepper Potts.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
He just drinks heavier.
Yeah, and threatens the world more often.
I would threaten the world too if I was Iron Man and they were pulling as much
Yeah.
shit as they are on him. I wouldn't make a very good superhero.
No, you'd be kind of like the Punisher meets a giant penis.
All right.
As in, you'd be a dick to everybody, as well as killing anybody that deserved it.
I'd probably kill a couple people that didn't.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Giant penis doesn't care who he fucks, as long as he fucks.
Damn.
Suppose that's true. So what are your overall thoughts on the movie, guys?
I
And
fucking
you
love
shut
it.
the fuck up for a second. Let him talk. Or not.
Vision was pretty awesome. I enjoyed Vision.
I like that they kept Vision as an Ultron creation. They didn't fuck with his creation.
Oh yeah, not at all. Though
Other
technically,
than the mind gem,
yeah,
they didn't
he
really fuck
technically
with it.
didn't be. He was never evil in the movie as he was in the comics. But it's a 2 hour 20-minute movie. You can't give him that moment of evil and expect a full turnaround by the end.
Yeah.
It was
Well,
better
not since
that they
didn't,
made
they didn't
him
put
a
him in the
shell.
movie until the last 25 minutes or so.
Yeah, so it was actually much better that they did it that way. And to bring him in and bring in the question of his character subtly by having him just hand Thor's hammer to him.
Now,
Nice.
what I didn't like was that they didn't really explain Vision. They explained what he was as far as anatomically, but they didn't explain his powers at all.
No, they didn't. They showed him, but they didn't really explain
him. Like
them.
they showed him phasing through the robots
robot,
and
yeah.
blowing them up and all that kind of shit, but they didn't explain why he can do that.
He has a
shit.
pretty hefty power set, but generally speaking, for those that haven't read the comics and all that,
Well, if you haven't,
he can pretty much just alter density. That's the basest form of his power set. He can be super strong, he can pass through objects, and using that density alteration, I believe, is why he can fly.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, he gets laser beams. He's a robot. He gets lasers.
Right. Which is something that not a lot of people like. He is, for all intents and purposes, he's an android.
Yeah,
You know,
that's exactly
what he is. And a lot of people they forget that, especially nowadays with the newer crowd of fans. They think that he just kind of like how some of the newer fans don't know that the Red Tornado is indeed a robot. Like
Yes.
Vision's the same thing. He's just he's not a robot. He's an android.
Yeah,
There is a
androids
difference.
are robots in human form.
Right. So, they made him seem like I think they did a good job, and of course they had a wonderful job with the actor. I mean,
Paul Bettany.
you don't get better really than Paul Bettany when it comes to a character actor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Bettany is pretty much spot on.
Yeah, and then of course I enjoy the fact that Jarvis, a combined and slightly dismantled form of Jarvis, became Vision. It actually really fits with the character.
Right.
It's not something they've done in the books, but again, that's a nice way to go.
All right, so we'll look at it, and since we're speaking here, pretty much just new additions to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. How do we feel about this rendition of Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver?
Favorable.
Yeah, I enjoyed both of them.
Why?
Well, Quicksilver, as opposed to the Days of Future Past version we got, which, don't get me wrong, stole the movie every second he was in it, this version was very much more loyal to the comics, and that Pietro was far more of a dick with a cause than, he was pretty much an asshole. He was against pretty much everything except protecting his sister and saving his people.
Well, I mean,
And-
let's Pietro in the comics is just a dick.
Yeah,
He doesn't really have, the only cause he really has is
save his sister.
save his sister.
Basically save anyone he actually truly cares about.
Well, see, the only thing that he takes from Magneto fully is his appreciation and love for mutants.
Actually, but he also takes Magneto's ability to go a little too far.
Well, right, but what I'm saying is that there's nothing he won't do to help
Yes.
a fellow mutant, regardless of enemy or friend.
Not always true. Magneto's more likely to help, say, Cyclops than Quicksilver would ever be.
What my point is, I'm not talking about if they're in a fight against each other. I'm not talking about if the Brotherhood's taking on the X-Men. I'm talking about if, during the whole Sentinel program, Pietro was
they
never,
banded together.
Pietro was never one to hand people over. I mean, he did a couple of times, but it usually was part
Not
of
on the
plan.
grounds of them being just mutants. He would not sacrifice a mutant just out of malice.
Right, that's my point.
That I will grant you.
He's got. If he took anything from Magneto at all, it was that.
honor among mutants.
Not really an honor among mutants, because Pietro values, mutant life above all, which was shocking to me when he took the bullets for Hawkeye.
Yeah, well, it wasn't just for Hawkeye, too. It's hard to say
I
whether
know he was
that
carrying...
was for the kid or for
Yeah.
Hawkeye. I like to think it was a little of both. Then Pietro has had plenty of kindness over the years. He's not a soulless
But straight
monster.
straight up sacrifice himself?
That is the odd part, and I'm curious to see what that means for the
First
future
of all,
movies.
I don't think he's dead.
No,
we know how these things
I think
work.
he might be dead, but he'll be back.
We know how these things work.
Yeah, it's
he's
comic
got
movies.
his powers are very akin to the Flash's, especially the way that they explain them in this movie, and that his metabolism has increased dramatically.
Yeah,
they explain it that way. Which, if you have watched any of the Flash TV show, that's pretty much what happened with Barry Allen.
Yeah.
So you know that if they're gonna follow that thing, that means not only is his metabolism faster, but so is his healing. He's gonna have a bit of a healing.
A lot
factor
of things. Yeah, that is something that Quicksilver
Now, does
does
that
have.
mean he can? Does that mean he can heal and live through that many bullet wounds coming from a helicopter gun? And not just a helicopter gun, a Quinjet gun. I don't know, but maybe.
I still think he's gonna come through on
Maybe.
the other side, though.
If you take they've got the tissue regrowth chamber and everything that we know from Shield, the Shield TV show,
Hell,
and
Extremis is part of this universe,
right, and everything we know from from Shield just by reading the comics, which it seems like everything that's in the comics regarding the Shield has been put into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
Then we know that it would be no shock to see him back up running around.
Absolutely not, and especially with the Infinity War coming up.
Right.
Those gems and the gauntlet as a whole, that unlimited power, unlimited omnipotent power, and anything could happen. That gauntlet has come into play with bringing people back to life, killing them, wiping out a third of the universe. All in all, it's a tool that can be used for good and evil, but, as they say, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Right.
So,
but it just depends on what we're looking at. Like I said, I don't think they're going to keep him gone at all. I don't.
I doubt it. I am very happy to see Scarlet Witch as an actual Avenger.
Well, they did that quick.
They did. They brought her on right at the end.
I understand that all the movies are tying in together, but there was not a whole lot of build-up to Ultron at all. They built up Loki being the big... other than trailer work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There was nothing in the movies that pointed to Ultron at all. In any of the movies, in other movies in Phase 2, none of them led to us... if they wouldn't have released the title, Avengers 2, Age of Ultron, I don't think any of us would have saw Ultron coming.
Well, I would have seen it for sure down the line, because... honestly,
he's one of the biggest.
Ultron is one of the biggest and most threatening.
Well, in all
villains.
honesty, I think he is the biggest Avenger villain.
I still think that goes to Thanos, but
he's the one that takes him out, for good.
Yeah.
Ultron's the reason those motherfuckers are dead.
True. Yeah, I guess he does have a body count.
Yeah. The biggest one, outside of Thanos, but if you're going to talk about stuff like that, though, then we'd have to look at all of the iconic villains. Everybody, most people would say that generally the biggest X-Men villain is who? Magneto, because he's there more often than not. He's the one fucking with Xavier and his shit.
He's their quote-unquote arch nemesis.
Right, but, if we're talking about absolute power here, Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet, not a whole lot rivals that.
No, not a whole lot does.
Not a whole lot at all in the whole Marvel Universe rivals that. Or in any comic book universe rivals that, really. So, if you're going to talk about that, of course that would be the biggest one. But then again, then we'd be looking at it and be like, well, then it's not Magneto for the X-Men. It's got to be Apocalypse, because he's the one who's,
He's the one with the body count.
Right, he's the one who's taken the most. He's the one.
Him and Sinister.
Yeah.
And they're a team,
and it's
so
hand
it
in
can
hand.
count.
It's their hand in hand for the most part. But that could be, then for the Fantastic Four, it wouldn't be Victor Von Doom, it'd be Galactus.
Yeah.
If we're talking about body count specifically, But Ultron, not only is he, like, you said it perfectly the other day when you said it, he's the gift that keeps on giving. He doesn't go away.
He doesn't go away.
So not only does he have the body count...
He's ever evolving.
Not only does he have the body count, for me to put him at the top of the Avengers, all-time villain, but he just keeps coming back. Like, they can't get rid of him.
He is, he is Marvel's Brainiac.
Right.
He's always there. He's always coming back. He's always evolving.
Right, but, I mean... The only thing that he doesn't have on Brainiac is interplanetary and dimension travel.
Actually, he did get Dimension down.
Dimension finally, but I'm saying he doesn't go conquering worlds and taking them and...
Typically not. No, Brainiac's got an edge on power.
Yeah. But, that's... So, but my point, going back to my point, though, like, with just what we had from movies and, the Marvel one-shots... or the anything we got after credit scenes, etc. Nothing pointed to Ultron until they said Avengers 2 Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
Other than a slight side, if you want to call it this, the idea of Tony's working against him,
right?
That in a way can be said to be a build up to Ultron since he was the creator,
right?
But
Tony's not the original creator.
No, he's not the original creator. But in the Marvel universe, that's been a theme for Iron Man for a while now. And Ultron really is a natural extension of that idea.
Right.
But
how do we feel... Okay, because I don't know how you guys feel about the movie as a whole, as far as what its purpose was. I mean, as a whole, I think it's fantastic. I think it's probably one of the best movies that Marvel's put out.
Yes.
But let's look at it big picture-wise. The whole point of this movie was the Mind Gem.
Yes, it absolutely
Fuck
was.
Ultron, fuck Vision, fuck all that. The whole point was the Mind Gem.
Fully introduced not only the Mind Gem, but the concept and purpose of the gems.
Right, with the
Gauntlet, with
right.
Thor's visions.
Right.
They have now fully introduced the Infinity Gauntlet and its pieces, the gems.
Okay, so here's my thing. Since you brought up Thor and his visions, okay, this was done expertly because they gave Thor a lot of screen time in the first movie.
Yes.
They didn't want to do that in the second movie. They still, overall, he probably had the biggest impact on the movie as far as the future is concerned.
Biggest development for the universe,
right?
Rather so much as
because you got to think about it, especially in terms of what the next movie is going to be called, Thor Ragnarok. Mm-hmm. He has to die in order for Ragnarok to happen. Traditionally,
not necessarily. No, in fact, the time Ragnarok happened, Thor didn't even die. He was dead before it happened, and he showed up right before it started, if I remember correctly. Ragnarok is the end of all Valhalla.
See, I don't recall that. The way I recall it is that Thor, I believe, sacrificed himself, and that started Ragnarok.
As I recall, the sacrifice happened before Ragnarok. Maybe it caused it. It's been a while. I'm rusty on Ragnarok. But the sacrifice may have led to Ragnarok, but he came back before it happened.
Well, we know that he doesn't really die. He goes into Odin's sleep.
Yeah, he can't technically die. I mean, they haven't confirmed that yet in the MCU.
No, they haven't. They haven't confirmed it. But I guess what I'm saying is like, okay, like he showed, like, because I posed this question, to you shortly after we got back from the film. Are we looking at Thor's vision in the sense that, like, does that mean, like, because we all saw the after-credit scene or mid-credit scene, did Thanos lay the fuck waste to Valhalla to get the gauntlet, or did Loki give it to him?
I actually haven't... That is my thought. Loki gave it to him. I think Loki is still... Actually, I think Loki is pulling the wool over Thanos' eyes and gave him the gauntlet in order to maintain that he's still working for him. I think Thanos tried to mind control Loki and is thinking he still has Loki under his thumb, but Loki has switched that around on him and doesn't want him to know. Complicated plot, but it sounds like a Loki plot.
That doesn't sound complicated.
No, it just sounds like a Loki plot to me. I don't know what that means for Loki, if it does. But what I really... The thing that I think the most, not that Thanos laid waste to Asgard, though that's not impossible, I think what happened, and this is an interpretation of one of the lines Heimdall had. You will take us all to hell, I think is the line. Hell, in Asgard, is Loki's daughter.
I understand.
And she rules the underworld of Asgard.
Which is also hell.
Hell. I think that's the interpretation that matters. I think it has something to do with Loki and Hell that laid waste to Asgard.
You think so?
That's what I think, yeah.
So, I mean...
I think that's what Thor Ragnarok will be about.
You don't think it'll be the actual event, Ragnarok?
Obviously, I think they'll be tying in the actual event, the end of Asgard. I actually do think that'll happen, but
do you think they'll go
I
all out
believe
with
it is going to be involving maybe Fenris. I'm really hoping for Fenrir, rather. I really hope we get that involved with Hel and Loki.
Do you think that they'll go all out and have like the World Dragon like wake up or whatever?
The
he's
World
called?
Serpent.
Yeah, the World Serpent. Do you
I
think
don't remember what his name is.
Do you think we'll go all out? Do you think they'll go all out with that? I mean, because we've got the
Very
CG
possible,
capability
yes.
to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
That
So
would be awesome.
What do we think?
I think that would be an amazing way to go.
Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome.
But anyway, like that's of the Marvel universe as a whole. I mean, you know, like to again just to kind of circle back to the point, like Thor had the biggest impact on the future of the MCU in that movie, in my opinion.
Yes, he did.
Which I mean that it didn't, but they did it so well. It didn't undermine anything that was going on.
No,
And I love the tension they built between Iron Man and Captain America.
Yes, that is progressing nicely.
Perfect.
Yes, they've been dropping little bits since they met up in Avengers, and it's coming to a head. Tony has crossed the line. Cap has called him out.
Yeah, when they announced Civil War, I was very iffy on it because there wasn't that friendship there in the movies like there is in the comic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the years.
It's not years and years of friendship, rather than they meet up and they're instantly friendly rivals.
Yeah. But I feel like, you know, they've set it up pretty well now with, you know, Age of Ultron.
Yeah, they've brought it to a full head. They've established they're actually friends, but they are constantly philosophically at odds.
Yes.
Which is what it is in the books. It always was. Although they don't have the time to establish some of the things I feel they need to for Civil War, at least now I think with the establishment of Hawkeye's family, Captain and Iron Man's relationship, and the general friendship between all the Avengers, I think they now have enough on the line to make Civil War feel.
I don't. I mean, we got a big puzzle piece when we got Spider-Man. When we got Spider-Man, it's a huge piece of the puzzle. I think,
I don't think he can come in soon enough for that.
In my complete honest opinion, I think that they should devote a whole phase, and it should all be Civil War.
I would love that. I don't think
that is. In my opinion, if you're asking me, that is the biggest event as far as the Marvel Universe is concerned as a whole.
It does.
It spans literally the entire spectrum of characters. Everyone was involved in that.
And
the
constant
X-Men,
consequences.
The X-Men, the Avengers. I mean, I believe that's when the Illuminati was formed, or at least shortly after, or something like that, or shortly before. That the whole broad spectrum of characters of the Marvel Universe, both good and bad, they're all involved in Civil War.
They are.
And we're getting one movie.
Yeah.
That's what we're getting. Captain America, Civil War. That's all we're getting.
I just hope if they... I mean, I knew from the start.
I want a whole phase.
I'm going beyond what I want for it, and I'm honestly going with what will work for them. They have established something that can basically... They've established emotional weight. Maybe not as powerful as Spider-Man unmasking on screen.
There's nothing that's going to be anywhere near as powerful.
Whether he's in Civil War or not at this point, they haven't truly confirmed. I don't think. Maybe they did. Did they confirm if he was in Civil War?
They haven't said.
Okay. Well, even if he is, him unmasking won't have any true weight in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Nobody knows who the fuck he is.
Nobody understands who he is. He's not an established part of this universe.
No, not at all.
His side players don't matter. The consequences can't reverberate the way they did in the books. Given that, I'm okay if he's not part of the conflict in the movie.
I'm not.
I wish.
Not anywhere near okay with that.
I'm okay with it.
But that's my point, though. That's one of the biggest emotional things is because of how fucked Spider-Man's life gets because of that whole event.
It is.
Now, that's only part of it. You know, like the Fantastic Four, the whole Reed Richards and Sue Storm split. Yeah, that's not going to be there either.
Huge. No,
we're not getting that. We're not going to get that.
They don't have rights.
We're not going to have good enough unmasking of Spider-Man if he's in it at all. We're not going to get anything good enough of that.
I think
We're
we are
not
going to
get.
get. I think
We're not going to get
gonna
anything emotionally other than what. And I know he's great at it, but other than what Robert Downey Jr. can bring to us on screen.
I disagree that's all we're going to get. It is going to be awesome. I think we are going to get that awesome divide between the Avengers.
We're not going to get it.
No, I think we are.
Between,
I think when the whole of the Avengers
here's the deal though with
sides.
that. Here's the deal with that. Okay, you got fucking what? What now?
And
like
villains.
You got
we
what?
toss
10 members of the Avengers now at most. Okay, we're looking at 10 people who we've gotten 2 movies of them bitching back and forth with each other anyway. So we've already seen at least partial divides of that team already. That's been the whole theme of both fucking movies.
But not coming to blows.
Loki's. What the fuck are you talking about? Thor fucking beat the shit out of Hulk, and he beat the shit out of them in the fucking helicarrier.
But not the full team of the Avengers going against each other.
But that's my point. The whole fucking theme of both Avenger movies for both villains was divide and conquer. Loki, that's what he wanted to do, was divide the team. Fucking Ultron, exact same shit. Divide the team from the inside. Blah, 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 this and blah, 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 that. So we've already gotten 2 doses of that shit. Okay, so, and you're going to take, like I said, maybe 10 members and divide them to where they want to mortally come to blows? Big fucking deal. We're talking about going from countless hundreds of characters divided down to 10. That's horseshit.
It's not going to have the same. It's not going to have the same impact, but at least it can have some. I knew from the instant it was announced, they just can't pull the weight that they want. That they should be able to. Civil War, if anything, is coming too soon for it to be loyal to the books. But
so that's my question: Do we really want it?
I want it.
I don't.
Not
if all I'm going to get is a 2-hour movie. Fuck that. I want a whole phase where you're going to show me everything that I deserve to see.
I just don't have that sense of entitlement as a comic fan.
How is it a sense of entitlement?
What I deserve?
Yeah.
That is sense of entitlement.
That's not sense of entitlement, really. If you're going to give me all that in comic book form, but then you're going to water it down, it's kind of, for me, it's the same thing.
That's all comic book movies.
See, but that,
right. You have way too high an expectation.
We've bitched about it for years, though, because, like, we all screamed for Venom in Spider-Man.
That was...
What'd they give us? We all screamed for Deadpool. What'd they give us? I don't want the same shit handed to me on a platter when I look at Civil War.
And I don't think it'll be anywhere near that. I think it'll be a great success, just not on the level that we expect, quote-unquote. It will not be the event from the books. Nothing that they've done so far has been, but they've all been phenomenal.
No, but they've at least carried the weight.
I don't agree with that, really.
Why not?
Because it has, other than Iron Man 1 perfectly carrying over the weight of his origin story. That was brilliant. They did it perfectly. And the PTSD in Iron Man 3 also well carried. But other than that, what in the Marvel Cinematic Universe has had weight, other than, say, the world under threat from Ultron/Loki?
I don't know. I mean, call me sentimental, but it tugged at my heartstrings at the end of fucking Captain America.
Oh, that's because it was well done.
They woke him up.
Okay, no, I'll give you that, actually. No, that's acceptable.
Right.
Captain's origin fits, too.
And then Captain America 2, fucking...
Bucky and... The thing between Bucky and Captain was exceptional.
Yet another heartstring tearing moment. But at the end of Captain America 2, fucking Hydra was revealed and it took down S.H.I.E.L.D. How is that not carrying
that
weight?
That was excellent, actually. Unexpected and excellent. That
was
a part that wasn't in the books that was brilliant.
The only thing I can think of in the movie, in the MCU so far that hasn't really carried weight is Thor, the first Thor.
Yeah, it didn't really carry weight.
Really didn't do anything. I mean, it just introduced Thor, who the fuck he was.
And heck, even the second one didn't really carry much weight other than to introduce the reality gem, as well as, quote unquote, kill Loki.
But it also established, in my opinion,
although his mother
bond.
Dying was sad.
But it established the
brotherly bond
that they have, that a whole lot of people don't really look at, because especially the casual fan, they look at Loki as a villain.
Yeah, and
he should be a villain. If you read the comics, though, you know that he's so much more.
He is more,
and they have established that.
At his core, he is a forlorn brother and a villain.
I understand that.
That's what he is
But
at his basic.
Right, but I mean...
But he is a complicated one.
Right, and they establish that. And as we know, the character that is Loki, especially if it's going the way we think it's going, is going to be a humongous part. And they've given him a whole bunch of character development. So there's weight in Thor 2, in my opinion.
But what event that they've adapted, other than the origins, has anywhere near the weight that it did in the comics? They've adapted nothing that had anywhere near the weight it did in the books.
I don't know. Iron Man's pretty
like I
spot
said,
on.
that origin aside, that and Captain's origins. Like I said, origin aside, they have adapted nothing with.
Well,
the
how are we
going to
go origin aside if that?
No. The origin. I feel that origins are almost an exception to the rule. Comic book movies can't be made right. Some people do that, say that all the time. I think origins are the exception because that's the one time it seems these movies can get it perfectly. If they're adapting something. I'm sorry, but Age of Ultron was an extremely different story in the books. Incredible Hulk, I can't even say they did his origin right.
See, but I'm all for original storyline.
Oh, I am too. I'm fine with that. But what I'm saying is,
but if
you're not going to expect the kind of emotional weight that the comics deliver standard, then how can you expect the events to deliver just as much?
Well, see, I just described to you, in my opinion, the movies thus far, except for the first Thor, have carried the weight.
They've carried good weight, but not as impactful weight as anything in the books.
I disagree.
The relationship sides, they've actually captured that pretty damn well now. They've just progressed better and better at it each movie. Every single one, they seem to improve at it. But generally, story impact, the only times there's been major impact, Captain 2, with the Hydra reveal, and of course the giant world-threatening events of Ultron and Loki. Right. The other stuff has some emotional weight, sure. And yeah, some of that can be pretty satisfying, but I mean on the grand scale, plot-altering event stuff. They don't capture anywhere near the level they do in the books.
We've only had 2 plot-altering event things.
Yeah, I know. But even those do not quite rival the impact.
Horseshit. I'm calling complete horseshit. The Hydra reveal was insane.
It was.
It fucked up the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe. It fucked up. It
was
with the
forgotten
Shield
in
series.
2 movies.
It fucked with the whole Shield series, which is canon.
Yeah, and I love the Shield series.
Okay, so that's a whole TV series that got fucked over.
That impact is the closest thing we have to Civil War level impact in the movies. But that's the thing. Even that didn't have anywhere remotely near the impact that, say, Civil War did.
Well, but here
those repercussions are still felt today.
The only other like event altering, like the big altering, world altering thing we've got is Thanos.
Yes, and he hasn't shown.
And
yet.
that's yet to be seen.
No, I know.
So
that's
it's unfair for you to ask me like what has carried the weight. Well, that Hydra reveal has carried the weight, in my opinion. That fucked up the whole fucking thing.
It had some shock and awe behind it, and it was a wonderful twist.
Hell yeah! So with that being the only event that, because we know the Thanos thing is coming.
I'm just saying, how can you expect Civil War to have anywhere near the weight? I will even call it preemptive. Maybe they should have gone a different direction for the Captain 3. But at the same time...
Well, this is my point.
There's no reason to expect it, so why not temper expectations automatically?
My point is that if they were to devote a whole phase, it could. It could carry that weight.
But it would have to be phase 4.
Who cares? I will wait another couple of years.
I'm willing to wait
see
too.
what
it
I
just
want.
Didn't happen.
Just to see what we know we can see. Because one thing that, regardless of whether you want to call it a sense of entitlement or anything, everybody is the same when they go to a movie. Okay? Disappointment is disappointment. I don't care what the expectation is. Disappointment is disappointment. And the fact that you're going off of franchises that we know and love.
Yes.
And to know going into it that I'm getting one movie
for this epic event that has about 220 spin-offs and so much consequences.
The ripple effect of that event is insane.
It is. It's absolutely
We're not
insane.
going to see it.
And it's still, like I said, reverberates in comics to this day.
Right.
We won't get that level of impact per se, but what we may get is the distrust formed between members.
Seriously, unless Captain America cuts off Stark's head, or if
That would be
Stark
pretty
kills Captain, then holy shit,
Yeah,
color me a jackass for being a liar. But
and you never know if they'll do it. But I think Captain might actually get killed off in Civil War. I legitimately think it could happen. A, it's part of the storyline in the books, and B, it's kind of coming to that. Tony's going down that road.
well, yeah, and plus, they've also
This was the first movie where Tony came across as pure dick for the most of the movie.
They've already set up both of his successors. They've already shown us Bucky, and they've already shown us
given
Falcon,
us Bucky and Falcon, yeah.
which are both Captain America's successors.
Yeah. I think Civil War will wrap with Bucky taking the shield.
Maybe.
I don't know, because like
Oh,
they
you're gonna
have
talk
one
now?
whole they have one whole fucking movie to deal with all of Civil War,
Which is a
and
lot.
then deal with all of Bucky's bullshit they still haven't
Yeah,
dealt with.
I know, and that's going to be tough. But
And they
again,
only mentioned it barely in Avengers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
They're still
it was
chasing
like,
those
we still
stories.
haven't found him. There
Right.
we go.
Yeah. He's still not around.
but if
And
they
I
can
remember
do
you
half
and
as
you
good a
talking about
job,
how maybe they might deal with it in like the first 15, 20 minutes of Cap 3, and then
yeah, and then I think what'll happen is they will find Bucky, and they will quote unquote make amends. I keep saying quote unquote. Don't ask me why, but I think him and Captain will make amends, and then go their separate ways with Bucky returning by the end of the film. And that is a sensible way for it to happen, especially if they're going to kill Captain off. I think that's a great way for it to carry the weight that it needs.
Maybe.
And Bucky handing off the torch, and the death of Captain will forever
Bucky
lay.
handing off the torch?
Captain handing off the torch to Bucky.
I was
Not in a literal
I was
sense,
like, in 30
you know.
seconds of the end of the movie, he's going to be like, fuck it, Falcon, you take it. I don't want to do it.
Yeah. But,
All right, but that actually, we are going to be running out of time right now. Thank you, Charlie, for not talking at all.
you're welcome.
or Juice Box, as we're going to call you. But this is actually going to be, we're just going to call this part 2, because we got a lot more to talk about.
yeah, we got more to talk
So
about
part
here.
2 will be next time, but this has been part 1. Welcome back to the Fans Perspective, bitches. I'm Double A.
I'm Westicles.
I'm Juicebox.
Bye, bitches.